Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to talk to you about the Foundation Stage 1 UCL JPB Diploma exam. So I got quite a few emails after my other videos and they were like, yeah, we thank you for making the video, but we actually want to know more about the exam. So I was like, well, I may as well make it, and definitely overdressed for this, but I am actually going out to get some teppanyaki after filming this, so that is why I'm dressed in like an evening dress. But anyway, let's get straight to it. Again, like my other UCL diploma videos, I just want to clarify that this video is not sponsored or backed up or planned by UCL. It's just me making a video telling you about the exam, which is why I might not be able to tell you a few details, because I don't also want to, I was going to say get sacked, but I guess fail is what I want to say. If I tell you guys what's in the contents of the exam and stuff, that's like not allowed. So I will tell you as much as I can about the exam, but I might not be able to tell you everything about it. So in my opinion, when it came to the whole diploma, other than extended interventions, which I did find helpful, I think the exam was like the only other helpful thing in my opinion. Like, it definitely was different to my university exams because this time around I'd seen a lot of this in practice. I guess as I go along you'll see what I mean, but it was the first time that I did an exam since the registration exam, and it definitely made me realise that I'd learnt a lot and now I could put what I'd learnt into practice, so it wasn't as difficult studying. So I'm firstly going to talk about the structure of the exam, and then I'm going to talk about the contents. And I did do this exam quite a while ago, so I have got a piece of paper here, so I will be looking down because I can't remember everything. Okay, so the structure of the exam is going to be firstly a 20-minute portfolio review, secondly it's going to be 3 manned stations, and thirdly it's going to be 2 unmanned stations, and finally you're going to have MCQs which you have to do within 2 weeks of the date of your exam. So that is the general structure of the Foundation Stage 1 exam. Okay, so let's talk about the portfolio review. So this is a 20-minute portfolio review, and before, well actually let's just talk about how COVID has changed things. So I know that the years before me, they had to actually take their folder into UCL. The assessor would flick through their folder there and then ask questions. However, we're very lucky in the fact that because of COVID, it became online, and since it's become online, they ask you to send 2 extended interventions, 1 social intervention, 1 CBD, and 1 mini KEX. So those are things that you have to send before the portfolio review date, and basically we're very lucky because you can just study those inside out. Previous years had to like learn their whole folders and they weren't sure what they were going to get asked, whereas for us, I knew that the portfolio review was going to be about those things that I'd sent. Also, just quickly, you'll need your UCL ID card actually, because that's the first thing that they ask for. So obviously, you know, when you get your Zoom link, you'll show your ID and you'll introduce yourself, and then after that you'll move on to your portfolio review. They also said that they might actually ask to look into your room to show that you haven't got any notes and you're not cheating and stuff, but my assessor didn't do that, so not that I had anything there, but you might get asked to do that depending on your assessor. Mine was really good. It was basically about the case-based discussion that I'd sent, and we just discussed it, and she just asked me questions about, you know, like what would I do differently. There's a few development questions, like how would you want to develop as a pharmacist as well, and then there was a few pharmacokinetic questions as well. So I would just say for the portfolio review, don't panic, but know your 2 extended interventions, 1 social intervention, 1 CBD, and 1 mini KEX inside out, because you've got no excuse not to know them. I think that they do realise that you're nervous, and my assessor was really nice, so yeah, that was the portfolio review. Okay, so the 3 manned stations are what everyone panics about. So these are like the OSCE stations, and they're 15 minutes each. And by manned, it means that obviously straight after your portfolio review, you have these OSCE stations. Like, you know, I said in the previous years, people had to travel into UCL and then, you know, go and do these OSCEs. But for us, they were all online on Zoom. And I guess there's disadvantages and advantages of both, but I'm just going to talk about my experience. And it might change by the time that you do your exam, but this is how it went for me. So 2 weeks before the portfolio review and OSCE day, they will release a list of topics that you're supposed to study, and I can't tell you every single topic on that list, but they do release it on Moodle, and you basically have to know those conditions and guidelines inside out. So for each condition, for example, ACS, acute coronary syndrome, I went on NICE guidelines, and I also went on if we had any trust guidelines, and also just spoke to my friends who have done their cardio rotation, and just, yeah, I guess learned what the different branches, because there's like obviously NSTEMI, STEMI and all that. So I just kind of researched into what the guidelines are and what drugs they use in that condition, etc. And yeah, that list is released beforehand. And I think there's about 15 to 20 topics. I can't remember exactly, but you have to know those guidelines and diseases inside out, and that's because they've released it to you 2 weeks before. So 2 weeks I think is enough time, because you have been working as a pharmacist now for 18 months by that point. As well as the list of conditions that you have to know, they also give you 2 SPCs. And again, with the SPCs, I knew these inside out just because they've given it to you, they're telling you these are 2 SPCs, you should know them. And so I kind of knew, for example, if it was an IV drug, I would know exactly how to administer, I knew about the side effects and stuff. So just know those SPCs inside out. Another thing they also give you is 2 patient information leaflets. So again, with those, know them inside out. So with those, it's likely that you're going to get a counselling OSCE. And so if you get a drug that's, for example, I don't know, digoxin, then you should know how to counsel a patient on digoxin inside out. I got my boyfriend, I got my friends at work, I got my doctor friends outside of work, basically anyone medical and non-medical, to just listen to me counsel, and I'd pretend that they were a patient. And I also had a script as well, so I knew exactly what order I was going to say everything, so I knew that I couldn't miss out any points, because like if you don't ask about allergies, you can fail the OSCE. So you know, you want to not miss out on those silly little points. So I think the only way to do that is by practicing out loud. And so that's what I did. Basically, to anyone and everyone who would listen, I would counsel, and yeah, know that inside out. They might also give you a narrow therapeutic drug, IV drug that is, guideline as well. So they might have like a made up trust and like a made up hospital, and they'll give you a drug that's given IV that requires heavy monitoring. I also practiced out loud advising a nurse how to give that drug, so how to actually administer that drug and what side effects and things you need to watch out for, what you need to monitor. And I also practiced counselling, speaking to a doctor as if I was advising them on a dose. So none of those things actually came up for me, but I do know that it could have. Basically, for your unmanned stations, know your conditions inside out, know your 2 SPCs inside out, know your 2 patient information leaflets for counselling inside out, and finally, know the guidelines that they send you inside out. So they will send you guidelines. You'll be able to take that into the exam as well, so don't feel like you have to learn it, but definitely know how to utilise it, because when you're under pressure, you might panic. Oh, before I go on, what I want to say about the unmanned stations is that they're 15 minutes each, right? And I thought that you would have time to prepare, you'd be able to read what the question was, and then you could jot stuff down, and then the 15 minutes would start. But that's not how it goes. How it goes is the assessor will read out the sort of question to you and ask you if you've understood it, and once you say yes, then she'll start the timer. And so whether you use 5 minutes of that time to write notes and then 10 minutes to actually answer the question, or whether you use like 2 minutes, whatever, it's up to you. But basically what I'm trying to say is that it's not 15 minutes whenever you decide, okay, let's start this 15 minutes now that I'm ready to answer the question. It's actually 15 minutes between you understanding the question, taking it all in, jotting anything you need to jot down, and actually answering the question. Like, all of that has to be done within the 15 minutes, basically. Okay, now there are 2 unmanned stations, and you can basically do these in your own time. So I did these after my portfolio review and after my manned stations, and these are also 15 minutes each. They're online, and so they kind of give you like a patient case, and then you have like a free text box, and you write in there like things you might do, things you might change, things you might optimize, things you might monitor, whatever you want to write, really, you write in that free text box. And what I found the most difficult about this section was the fact that you had to keep scrolling up and down between reading the case and actually typing into that text box. And then the timer is also at the top, so you had to keep scrolling back up and down to make sure that you hadn't gone beyond that time. So I found like the logistics of that difficult, but the actual question itself, or like the case itself, it wasn't too difficult, and it's unmanned, you do it in your own time. Just make sure that you're relaxed. And yeah, and finally the MCQs. So you can do these within 2 weeks of your exam date, and that can be before the exam or it can be after. And I think I did mine before, and that's only because I just wanted them out of the way. And with MCQs, in your 12 months and 18 months, like in your 12 months, sorry, you get enough practice doing those MCQs anyway. So by that point, it's the same thing, but just it counts this time. So yeah, that's just your MCQs. I've not got much to say about that. So that is it really. That is the structure of the exam and how the exam would look to you on the day of your exam. I am sorry if I can't go into more detail. I wish I could, but like I said, I don't want to fail because UCL finds out that I've shared information. I'm not trying to share information or step on anyone's toes here. I'm just trying to explain what the structure and the exam kind of was for me, because I didn't really get it, and I was going through my emails being like, I'm not sure what are we doing? And I didn't really understand the order, and yeah, I always feel like it's helpful to share things that I struggle to understand. So that is it. I'm now off to go and get some teppanyaki, so I hope that you all have a lovely weekend, and I shall see you in the next video.